There's a theory out there that the internet is dead, that the majority of activity that you see on the web is not human, but bots, talking to bots, and periodically interacting with you. Maybe this video isn't even real. Maybe it's another product of AI. Wait, hold on. Why would anyone fill the internet with bots? Well, to answer that, we often need to turn to some creative ideas about the inner workings of the internet.
The dead internet theory suggests that since around 2016, most online content has been generated by bots rather than humans. Bots are believed to control and influence public opinion, promoting certain narratives and suppressing others. Governments and corporations supposedly use these automated systems to shape what we see and think.
Okay, so the idea here is that the internet is nothing more than a space for propaganda and consumers' brainwashing by government agencies and corporations aligned with those agencies. And yet, we know for a fact there are real people using the web, right? Like, a lot of them. Many are actively try and become rich and famous by doing so. And this is why so many people who wrote about the dead internet theory used to dismiss it as just another paranoid conspiracy theory. There was no way that all those people don't really exist or are AI generated. Then came ChatGPT, and Firefly, and Sora, and bizarre articles with bizarre pictures that looked just off, and videos with voiceovers that sounded human, but also definitely not human. And then this content exploded all over the web with people bragging about flooding the internet with AI-generated spam for easy money. And now, massive tech platforms want to keep you from leaving once you log in, vacuuming up independent websites and punishing creators for posting links instead of just the content itself. Meta even went one step farther, trying to create a flood of AI accounts on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads to pretend to be real users and boost engagement on its platforms. And more than likely, slipping in stealth ads and affiliate links in the process. Facebook is already overrun by AI bots, posting fake images for engagements from gullible users. And suddenly, it turns out that a big part behind the premise of the dead internet theory is true, or at least seems to be coming true right before our eyes. The internet as we know it is dying at an accelerating rate, and AI, governments, and large corporations really are to blame. Now, we in tech sort of expected this to happen from the very beginning, not in the terrible and very expensive way that is happening right now, but we can't say that we were all that surprised, because you see, the web as you know it today was created with a fatal flaw. It's even called the original sin of the web, and it is what is responsible for the internet being on its deathbed. To properly explain the web's original sin, we need to go back to 1960 and a man named Ted Nelson. Nelson founded the world's first recognized hypertext project, or enriched electronic text with links. It was called Xanadu, and it was going to change the world. Every bit of human information would be indexed and available to anyone using a Xanadu terminal for a small fee per query. Basically think Wikipedia, but for profit and with microtransactions. For a wide variety of reasons, including those, Xanadu never took off, and instead we got the World Wide Web thanks to a much less ambitious hypertext project by Tim Berners-Lee. By trying to make it easy for scientists at CERN to catalog and share scientific data across the world, Lee also managed to solve the question of how to make the internet accessible to the average person and link information together in a way that was really easy and really simple to follow. The question that needed to be asked next for widespread commercial adoption of the web was how anyone would pay for it. The Xanadu model seemed problematic. Companies that were trying to capitalize on this new technology wanted as few barriers to adoption as possible. At the time, there was also no secure online payment technology. Hell, there was barely an online to begin with. Having people call to pay with credit cards or mailing checks just to access a website, yeah, that was a complete non-starter. Their audience was still imagining this mashup of the Jetsons and Star Trek, glowing terminals in their homes to help them with busy work and entertain them. They were willing to pay for those. But to pay for internet access and then having to call a 1-800 number and say, "Hi, this is Bob Robertson. I'd like to buy 15 articles on hotwire.com, please," didn't exactly scream the future. The mass adoption of the web needed something else, something requiring way less effort for the end user. And so the decision was to adopt an ad-funded model. You got the information for free, but your eyeballs and data were sold to the highest bidder. And thus, the original sin was committed. The web became a collection of billboards, then a shopping mall between those billboards. Then social media created a global arms race for your attention and cash from your impulse purchases. But you already know that last part. Entire documentaries have been made about it. The part most people don't know is just how much of the web's infrastructure is now purpose-built only for exploiting advertisers and getting people to engage with social media accounts. Whatever you're thinking isn't even scratching the first millimeter of the surface. The very existence of the web as we know it relies on selling you something. Anything. Cheap, drop-shipped crap. A crypto scam. A t-shirt made of plastic and garbage. A pixelated monkey. It doesn't matter. Money just needs to keep moving. Sign-ups just need to keep increasing. Packages just need to be getting sent out. That's why so many companies keep paying for the consumer-oriented web to keep existing. And however many websites and scam artists you think are out there to exploit them, you're going to need to add at least 2 zeros to your estimate. And they're growing exponentially because they're now armed with AI. Every day, 1/3 of a trillion, yes, trillion is in 1,000 billion emails, are sent. 46% of those are spam, which is actually better than the 56.6% at peak spam in 2017. There's just a smidge over a billion websites, as in one website for every 8 humans alive today. Most of them get a few hundred visits a year, and almost half of that comes from a bot, either a crawler or an ad fraud script. And hundreds of millions of them aren't ever intended to be seen by another human being. It's not that a billion people are just screaming into the digital void. It's that hundreds of thousands of people around the world are creating honeypots for scripts and bots to pretend that ads were served and clicked on so they can collect a cut of the $650 plus billion being spent on digital marketing every year. Okay, fine. What about social media sites and apps? Certainly plenty of real humans interact with each other over there, like it's right there in the name, social. But the usage data doesn't actually get much better. About 92% of all content is created by just 10% of all users. Post engagement? Well, that comes from between 0.03 and 0.1% of all users. So in the just over half of internet traffic that's still driven by humans, between 9 in 10 and 99 in 100 users just message friends and family and passively consume content. Most of which is meant to sell them stuff, as we've just covered. And this is where generative AI is supposed to make this problem orders of magnitude worse in the immediate future. By the end of 2026, AI-generated content could account for 90% of everything we see online given its current trajectory. Meanwhile, bot traffic is growing by 5% per year. At this rate, in just 2 years, more than 9 in 10 pieces of content on the web will be fake, and by 2037, 99.96% of all traffic to it will be from bots. Which prompts the question, when will the internet be officially dead? Well, no one really knows. What we do know is that bots and auto-generated content are rapidly overtaking human activity, and that much of that bot activity is used for defrauding ad networks, crawling websites for search engine and chatbot training, and generating fake traffic and engagement for white-collar crime and propaganda so it can be algorithmically boosted to appear on your feed. And believe it or not, this actually costs us an astounding amount of money, like the size of national economies, a lot of money. Fake clicks cost companies $36 billion in 2022, roughly the GDP of the Chinese city-state of Macau. Internet fraud and criminal Ponzi schemes like crypto rug pulls and pig butchering scams, estimates put those losses about $55 billion, more than the entire economy of Uganda. In just 5 years, if the scam internet were to become its own economic power, it would be on par with a wealthy Middle Eastern petrostate. Meanwhile, we're also starting to notice older, legitimate websites and blogs vanishing. Articles, news archives, and old posts are being deleted to save money, breaking link after link across the web. A quarter of the internet between 2013 and 2023 has already disappeared. It certainly looks like the web outside of social media and a handful of news platforms that are still barely clinging on to life is quickly turning into something no longer meant for meaningful human consumption. So it's not so much that the dead internet theory is actually true in a literal sense, it's that it's a sneak peek into our future. Now, again, we always sort of expected that something like this would happen. Most of us look at the surface web, which by now is just 5 companies in a trench coat, and think that that's all there is to the internet. But the internet is actually an alphabet soup of very useful and robust communication protocols. So it did make sense that more and more machines would use those protocols to talk to each other. And the more devices there are out there, the more connected they are. And the farther away they are from each other, the more traffic across the infrastructure of the web will be carrying pings, status updates, and messages in the work queue from those devices. Humans browsing a website or refreshing a screen in an app are no competition for bots that operate at a milli or nanosecond scale. But even all that useful automated traffic has been losing ground to click, crime, and scam bots, which is kind of terrifying because it means that instead of being actually useful, the web and AI are just becoming a way to make soulless content brand content for ad impressions and affiliate fees. The web was supposed to be a tool to connect us, to educate us, to keep us informed and engaged, to remind us that the world is bigger than us. It's this original noble idea by genteel academics that major platforms try to invoke for whatever latest terrible thing they're about to unleash on us. We're building a public square. We're bringing people closer together. We're connecting people with their friends and loved ones. And instead, they just build increasingly seedy, dead shopping malls where humans are just a necessary evil to push a button to justify moving money around and very little more. They will tell us whatever we want to hear, show us wherever we want to see, and let us scam and abuse each other just as long as at the end of the day, a transaction is authorized and they get a cut. And to increase the chances of that happening, they optimize for algorithms designed to keep us watching longer and longer and bait us into engaging more and more. Because you see, the more time we spend on those platforms, the more we'll finally see a thing we like or click on an ad, even if it's just by accident. So, from a system to share the world's knowledge and talk across oceans in real time to an addictive digital sewer of scams, disinformation, and random bytes that really aren't even meant for human eyes anymore. Instead of bringing us together, it's dividing us for profit and then picking our pockets. It's really a long, sad way for an invention to fall, isn't it? And that makes me think back to Xanadu and the old model of how people thought the internet would work when it was still just a curiosity at DARPA. Maybe, just maybe, a global Wikipedia with a fee isn't a terrible idea after all. Now, I understand the absurdity of saying this at a time when it seems like literally everything short of air and food is a subscription service and we keep spending more and more and getting less. But at the same time, at least the services we pay for can be beholden to us instead of whoever bids on access to our feeds. And we can leverage that to demand regulations on what happens with our data, what is being collected and how it's used, making sure that we're the primary source of revenue, not advertisers or data brokers or AI companies or VCs looking to make a quick buck. And that the only way to really make more money is to create a better product that we actually want and enjoy using, and that doesn't take up all of our time and energy and keep trying to sell us something we don't want or need. That way, anyone building a new platform doesn't have to turn to venture capital for hundreds of millions of dollars to create yet another shopping mall with the same exact terrible incentives. Which means we could have actual competition again. Because this waiting for every new platform to become an exploitative hellscape of crypto, bots, scam, and clickbait trying to brazenly pick our wallets, this grand enshittification of something that was meant to make the world better, ran by oligarchs who treat us as targets at best and with contempt at worst, Are we really okay with that? Because we don't have to be. If we actually decide that we've had enough of being used, of doom scrolling, of never knowing what news is real and what is a lie meant to just manipulate us for profit, and demand change, real change, with our votes, voices, dollars, and very importantly, app usage, the internet could still be reborn. And maybe then it could return to the utopian role its creators used to imagine for it.